kicking off day 2 at the Decode Podcast booth at IPC Apex Expo 2025. We are here with our guest, Gene Weiner, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the industry knows this guy, right?
If ever the term legend was applicable, I think we're sitting next to one.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us.
It's a privilege for all of us.
Yeah. One of the things I promised on LinkedIn was I was going to meet new people and make new friends, and I'm happy to do so here. Regarding legend, that's not quite right. It says in the Old Testament, there arose a king that knew not David, but there are many young engineers that know not Gene.
So tell us a little bit about your background in the industry, and I know we could probably have an entire podcast just hearing all about your experience and where you've seen the industry come from and where it's at now. But maybe you can talk to us just somewhat briefly about how you started in this world and how you've seen it evolve over these years.
And it's still evolving at a more rapid pace. I started as a technician while I was at the university, at Tufts University, working at MIT Lincoln Labs. And I was fortunate enough to get into a group that was trying to develop a print-wired memory plane. And so I built the first additive printed circuitry print-wired memory plane with XY drive and inhibit through ferrite cores embedded into phenolic laminate. Actually, it was bare phenolic. We went additive. From there, I went, a company called Shipley developed a process and a colloidal catalyst that allowed people to plate through holes without sanding the boards. At that time, all boards were made with eyelets through holes. Sean's grandpa probably remembers that. And I used it for 2 days, went and asked for a job. Went to Shipley, and at age 23, opened up the West Coast for the Shipley Company. And the opportunity to demonstrate at Hewlett-Packard, which was using eyelets, and a middleman named Clyde Coons, who wrote the printed circuit handbook, now in edition 7 coming out with Hap Holden. And we converted HP from eyelets to plated through holes at that time very quickly. They were building a new plant in Palo Alto. From there, went on to a variety of jobs. Set up a company to do solution control for plating. And then from there, was invited back to become the product manager of McDermott. At that time, it was a $25 million a year company. Wow. And the president, Harold Lever, said, I think a stripper is an etchant. I think a stop-off is a resist for plating. And we need someone to put us in electronics. So I went and founded the Circuitex product line for McDermott. And 10 years later, I was invited to become the director of marketing when multi-layer circuits are coming along from Nilco Corporation, one of the pioneers in multi-layer. There were companies that mostly don't exist today anymore. Went there as director of marketing, helped Litton Industries and others get into multi-layer, especially with the new and Univac upstate Utica, New York, as well as down in Tennessee and then Springfield, Missouri. Then went on after that, was invited to come out to California, back to California, a company called Dynachem, which was following DuPont with the first and second dry-field photoresist, and we were fortunate enough to come out with the first aqueous processing dry film. I hired some young guys, a guy named Dan Feinberg, whom you may have heard of, and a few others around. He's also in the Hall of Fame. And I had 3 of my mentees get in the Hall of Fame, as well as Mike Carano, whom I mentored, and others. Worked with Hap Holden way back in the Technology Marketing Research Council for the IPC. That was brought back to Nilco as president this time, and said, this is crazy. I could help more people, not doing that. And so I resigned. I did a turnaround. They were losing money, and I went to Walden, New York, did a turnaround in a year. Turnarounds are probably the most difficult job of all. And then became a consultant. Next thing I knew, I had a 7-year retainer with DuPont, and I was working for Monsanto, and some international people wanted to go overseas, and I was invited and gave a talk. The first, by the way, NEPCON in Japan, became a vice president of one of the Occidental Petroleum groups for a while, and they had just acquired Celrex, a plating company for gold medals, Utilite Corporation, which was copper, nickel, chrome, gold, Parker Rustproof. And so I put together an electronics group out of that, managed that, back to consulting. And so it's been a whirlwind ride from eyelets, additive circuits, back to the future, the additive circuits, to advanced packaging. Now I'll be attending Matt Kelly's session tomorrow morning. He's doing a great job here, helping the IPC get into the 21st century, because now the future is not with printed circuits anymore. It's all gone overseas. Policies and big companies chasing the tenth of a cent. The automotive companies, the consumer electronics company, drove the business offshore for 2 generations. All the young people went, and it's clobbered us. And now we need it for defense, for medical, and for growth, and for future packaging. We have the CHIPS Act building all these facilities, and what that's going to do is lengthen the pipeline, because now you're going to ship it back to Asia for packaging and the boards. So it's quite a wild ride, and I'm happy to enjoy I hope, bring it back to the U.S. at the next step.
Yeah, for me, it's I don't know. Like, I feel a connection with you as a PCB guy. You know, I got to witness black hole being developed, and then flying probes versus bed of nails testing. Now they have those vacuums on the etchers, right? Like, I'm looking at these guys are just cheating now, like the way they have it, right? It's just amazing to see that, you know, there's so much new technology. But what impresses me most about you, Gene, is when I read your LinkedIn post, you have like a heartbeat. Your thumbprint is on the heartbeat of this industry. You post about ultra high definition all the time. You talk about new advancements in PCB substrates, even, you know, and I'm learning from. If you had a magazine, I would subscribe to it, because I learned so much from your post, you know, and it's kind of amazing. Most people try to choose the, you know, go off in the twilight and the sunset, and you're ahead of everyone else out there. I feel almost sometime with what you're doing, you know. So
it's easy to be ahead when you don't have to make it yourself.
But
those that can't teach. But actually, you mentioned vacuum etching.
yeah,
The Japanese don't do that. They use vacuum etching with pressure to split it and break it to finer particles and get better, higher yields on UHDR.
Wow.
There's a company called Chemtron.
yeah. See,
CHEMTRON.
this is the perfect example of what it's like. He's just.
It's so inspirational, I think, to look at somebody that has had such a storied career as you just outlined, and I'm gaining the sense that your enthusiasm and passion for circuit boards is the same as it was, you know, many years ago. So to keep that flame burning for all these years, it's, you know, and I want to coin a phrase. I don't know if anybody's ever called you this, but, you know, you got the Godfather, you're the board father. That's great. You're first.
I wish I were your age with all the new stuff that's being generated and the new opportunities between the digital twin and AI. And I say anyone that's not playing with AI right now, they're not going to be in this business next year.
Yeah.
And even socially and for personal use as well.
Well, and it's kind of like I want people to realize too your new roles. I don't know if people can see, but he's got a special pin on today, a lapel, and it says PCBAA, and you're now part of gaining membership committee, correct?
I am the membership committee of the PCAA. We signed up several new members here at the show.
Very nice.
And I'm happy to report also we got our first OEM last week, Raytheon.
Nice, nice.
That's awesome.
And who better than the guy that's been around forever to help bring back onshore, because you've seen it all from overseas.
Well, you don't have to question this guy's motives,
No,
right? Everybody
right.
knows where your interest lies and what you're trying to do,
Part of
and
my experience
all of us
has
support
been on
it.
the board of directors of companies in China when everybody was rushing there.
Right.
And then I'd say, okay, you know, that was in the good old days before Emperor Xi. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But I asked people, define China plus one. You can't get the same answer from two people.
Sure. Yeah. Everybody
China
says
plus
it, and
one.
nobody knows what it means.
Yeah. Is it a Chinese company coming through Thailand? Is it a Vietnamese company that everyone's investing in? I thought they were a communist company. Now they're a good friend of America. Is it a Thai company? Is it a Taiwan company manufacturing in Malaysia? What is China plus one?
Right.
And is there a difference between Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China people? I was asked that question by the chairman of a Chinese company in Hong Kong today. Do Americans recognize the difference between mainland China Chinese and Hong Kong Chinese? What's China plus one?
Right. Yeah. It's a good question.
It is a good question.
Well, Mr. Weiner, it's been a pleasure to get a little bit of your time. I know you're definitely a high demand character at these shows, so thank you for sitting with us and telling us a bit about your experience, and thank you for being willing to talk to a few quote unquote young guys, as you said, and we really depend on people that have all this experience, kind of transferring some of that onto us, and I think that's a little bit of what happened today. So it's fascinating to hear your story, and we really appreciate all you're doing for our industry.
A final comment. I'm like Sean's grandfather. My son is with Analog Devices as a director. My grandson is an analyst with a physics and mathematics degree, worked at United Aircraft for a while, and I was in another position. So I'm 3 generations the other way, Sean.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well done. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Gene.